Hier ist die neue Folge der Ökonomie-Videos.
Welcome to The Explainer. So, is Bitcoin the future of finance, or is it really just a disaster waiting to happen? Today, we are digging into a really sharp critique from inside the European Central Bank that asks a super fundamental question. Do we even need crypto in the first place? Okay, so let's just start with this quote because, wow, the European Central Bank's own blog didn't pull any punches. They called Bitcoin's recent stability an artificially induced last gasp before the road to irrelevance. That right there, that really sets the tone for the entire argument we're about to explore. So the whole case that the ECB is making really boils down to one big question. Is Bitcoin's design some kind of genuine innovation, or do its fundamental flaws mean it was pretty much doomed from the very beginning? To really get our heads around the challenge Bitcoin is up against, the analysis brings up this great quote from the economist Hyman Minsky. Everybody can create money. The problem is to get it accepted. Think about it. State money, dollars, euros. It has a killer app. You have to use it to pay your taxes. So what problem is Bitcoin actually trying to solve? Well, according to this critique, Bitcoin just doesn't measure up. So to see if that claim actually holds water, the authors put it to the test. They evaluated against the three universal functions that any form of money has to be good at to be useful. Okay, so the way the analysis tackles this is by breaking down what money actually is. To be successful, any currency, anything we call money, has to do three distinct jobs, and it has to do them really, really well. Right, so you've got these three pillars. It has to be a medium of exchange, a store of value, and a unit of account. So let's see how Bitcoin stacks up in its first, and you could argue most important test, according to the ECB's analysis. All right, test number one. The first and most basic job of money is simple, right? You need to be able to buy stuff with it. And the ECB critique argues that on this most basic function, Bitcoin just falls flat. Real-world transactions are just too clunky, too slow, and way too expensive. And when you look at the numbers, you really start to see the scale of the problem. The entire global Bitcoin network can handle about 7 transactions per second. I mean, just compare that to PayPal at 450, or Visa's theoretical max of over 50,000. The analysis argues this isn't just a small gap, it's a fundamental issue with the design. And according to the authors, this is the reason why Bitcoin has never really caught on for just everyday legal purchases. It's just not practical for buying a coffee or paying for your groceries on a massive scale. Okay, so if it's not great for spending, what about just holding on to it? Money needs to be a reliable store of value. And the ECB's analysis really questions whether you can count on Bitcoin to be worth tomorrow what it is today. And they're not just talking about price swings. They're talking about the unique risk of it just vanishing. And this is where the source points out a really unique danger. Unlike money in a bank, your Bitcoin is all on you. If you lose your keys, if you throw away your hard drive, it can be gone forever. This famous story about the guy trying to dig up a landfill for his lost fortune, it's a dramatic example, but the danger is very real. And look, this isn't just one guy's bad luck. We're talking about a huge number. The analysis estimates that somewhere between 3 and 4 million Bitcoins are likely lost forever. Just gone, from circulation, permanently. And that brings us to the third and final test. Can Bitcoin work as a unit of account? I mean, could a coffee shop realistically price its entire menu in Bitcoin and have those prices make any sense from one day to the next? The source points out just how impractical this is. The crazy volatility means prices would need to change constantly. And honestly, the long string of decimals is just confusing for everyday shopping. Who wants to pay 0.000025 Bitcoin for a coffee? Okay, so if the source is arguing it's not very good as money, what about the other big claim? What about Bitcoin as an investment, as digital gold? This is a really crucial part of the critique. The authors argue that Bitcoin lacks any real underlying value. Unlike other assets, right? It doesn't generate cash flow like a rental property. It doesn't pay dividends like a stock. You can't use it productively like a commodity, and it doesn't even have the social or jewelry use of gold. So if there's nothing really backing its value, what's driving the price? Well, according to this analysis, it's pure speculation. Its worth depends entirely on a constant stream of new money coming in, and the hope that someone else will be willing to pay more for it down the road. Okay, so we've talked about the financial side of things, but the source raises another huge red flag. And this one is about the planet. There's an enormous hidden cost to the Bitcoin network. You've probably heard of Bitcoin mining, right? That process of securing the network. It uses a staggering amount of electricity. To put that into perspective, the ECB analysis estimates that Bitcoin's annual power consumption is on par with an entire developed country like Austria. And it's not just the electricity. There's another huge problem: e-waste. The super specialized computers used for mining become obsolete incredibly quickly. This creates a mountain of electronic waste every year, comparable to all the e-waste produced by the Netherlands. And here's the real kicker. According to this analysis, you can't just fix this. This massive energy use isn't a bug or a flaw. It's actually a core feature of how Bitcoin's security, called proof of work, is designed. It's secure because it's wasteful. So, after all that, after testing it as money, as an investment, and then looking at the environmental toll, what's the final verdict from the source material? What's the bottom line? Well, the authors do not pull any punches. Their conclusion is crystal clear. They say, look, it's not a suitable payment system and it's not a sound investment. They even argue against regulations that might legitimize it, and they warn banks that promoting it could cause massive reputational damage. And that leaves us right back where we started, with this huge question hanging in the air. After more than a decade, is Bitcoin really the financial revolution it promised to be? Or is it, as these authors suggest, just an idea that has ultimately failed to deliver?